welcome to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide in the BMW M4 GT3. This week is week 7 and we're at Montreal for another one, and without further ado, let's just get started. Okay, so that was the full speed run through of the lap. I'm now on the replay just at the start finish line, just before we start the lap, so I can run you through slowly and point out all the driving lines and braking points that I'm looking at as we go. So just approaching turn 1 here, I'm looking at these sort of escape roads, in particular that sort of, maybe this grassy patch between the first two is about where I brake. Just as the front of the car gets in line with the grassy patch, I'm on the brakes. I think we're down from 5th to 2nd before the first apex, and what you want to do, I think I get it a little too much here. If you just cut this curb a little bit, the left wheels stay in the air and land back on the other side, but if you cut too much, you bounce on the inside here and then it pings you up and hit the curb. I got just a little too much, so it bounced the car a little, but I got away with it. That was about as much as you can get away with. And then basically a little burst of throttle and then back on the brakes. Down to first for this one. I took a little bit of curb, but make sure you're really trail braking. You can see how light my brake pressure is down here, just to get it to rotate. And then back on the power as soon as we can. I was finding a lot of the time just getting on the power early rather than waiting for a straight exit was the fastest way. You just got to be aggressive when you do it like that. If your traction control kicks in, that really kills the exit. And then into the second chicane, I'm braking about halfway between the 2 and the 1. As you can see there, it's approximately halfway between. You could also look at this blue banner, about just as that would be going out of your right side of your vision. You'd want to be braking. And down to 2nd for this one as well. What I was preferring to do here, again, in this car, you don't want to go too much on the inside of this curb because it goes down again so quickly that it bounces up as it comes back over the curb. So just a little bit, so you kind of hook the inside of that curb and it pulls you around a little bit without bouncing too much. And then I was short shifting up to 3rd, another quick lift there. As you can see, I have like a burst of throttle as I go over the first apex. And then a lift as we turn left. Slight cut of the grass. And then just trying to be as early to full throttle without losing the rear as we can, which is why we're going to 3rd, to make that easier for us. You can get away with a little tap of the wall. I don't on this occasion, but also that would be a 0x in quali, so it's only valid in the race. Flat out through here, just try and keep it tight, just to trim the track down. And then moving back across the right hand side as quickly as we can. Braking point here, I don't really have one. I'm more looking at where the tarmac goes dark. But I'm also braking roughly in line with this end of this barrier here where it's orange. If you prefer to use that, as you can see, I've started braking just alongside it. Quite hard on the brakes, down to 2nd again. It's a relatively late apex and you want to be quite patient with the throttle. You can see I pick it up now, but I don't go full throttle for a good while, just to help the car turn back so that you can open up the exit, because then it's onto the back straight. So again, full throttle in the middle as we're straight, and then as we get back on the curb and turning, we're lifting again just to control the rear. Up to third, about there, sort of a bit of a short shift to third again, because we know we're going to run out onto this curb, and just being in third gear helps you to go full throttle earlier. It just makes your life easier in maintaining the traction. The straight, I like to trim it down a little bit. It doesn't make much difference. It's just got a slight curve in it. And then into, what's this now, the fourth chicane, I guess? I'm looking for the 2 board, or also where that sort of tarmac runoff starts, and I'm braking just a bit before that. Actually, a couple of car lengths before it. From the cockpit point of view, it feels like I'm almost on top of the 2, but I like to brake just a bit before. Just because I feel like with this car, although the track limits allow it, as you can see, I take quite a lot of this curb. You can actually get away with a bit more, but it really bottoms out on the front of the car if you take more. It even does a bit here. You can see the car rotate to the left as I hit the curb. And the key here is, like, you can see that I get on the power now, but then as we go up onto this curb, I'm lifting down to, what's that, maybe 70% throttle. And that's the most important bit of the corner, because by doing that I was able to maintain like a consistent steering angle without losing the rear. Early in some of my earlier attempts I was going full throttle over this thinking I had traction, and then as I would drop off the curb I'd lose the rear and then I'd get a terrible exit. Just brushing the wall there on the exit, but we got away with that. Not even a 0x. Just hugging the left as we come around here, and then again looking for this escape road, and I'm trying to brake just in line with the end of it. You can see that I'm just about there, just as the front of the car's exactly in line with that. That's when I get on the brakes. Braking really hard for this one, down from 5th to 1st. Towards the end you can see I start to turn in and fade off the brakes, so it's a real trail braking manoeuvre. I was finding that was quicker than, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the lap, than what you could often do in some cars is you would take a later apex and a straighter exit. But I was preferring in this car to trail brake it in and then try and get on the power quite early. Like you can see, already picking up the power before we're even halfway turned. Just quite faintly. And in fact I'm still on the brakes when I start picking it up. That's just a driving habit of mine, I guess. It's not something you need to do. We're turning the wheel now, what's that, more than 180 degrees, full lock basically. And then just picking up the throttle nice and progressively, and then unwinding the wheel and running out as wide as we can just to try and get on the power as soon as possible, to try and fire out onto this straight as best we can. The only tricky part about this on the exit is that it tapers back in. You've got to make sure the rear is under control early enough for you to get back around this grassy bit that sticks out. But then you just got the back straight, all that time to think about the final chicane, which I think is the most difficult part of the track, especially on a quali lap, because it just is fast to really take all the curbs, and that makes the car quite unpredictable. So again, looking for this 3 board, basically braking exactly in line with it. I mean, it'll feel from the cockpit like you've gone slightly past it because it's out of your vision, but it's in line. Just down to 3rd for this one, and then you just got to get off the brakes relatively early so you can get it turned in. You can see I'm really fading off the brakes, and just put all 4 wheels on this curb. You can see I've got no wheels on the track, and this isn't an off track. This is legal. So as stupid as that track limit is, you've got to take advantage of it because it's worth so much. Worst thing about it, it's the same in the second apex. You can see this again. No wheels are on the road, all over the curb. The hardest thing in this kind of car is it hits the floor, and it's quite stiff, so it's quite unpredictable as it lands. So you can see I'm just trying to maintain sort of a steady throttle over it, just to try and keep it balanced, lifting as I hit the curb, and then getting back on slightly progressively on the exit just to try and stop it kicking out, but equally trying to get on quickly because we're onto another straight. Very, very easy. I was finding this in all the attempts I was doing to pick up slow down or end up in the wall. So I think in race spec, you want to take a little bit less curb, a little bit less entry speed, but that's what you can get away with for a quali run. But yeah, it's a relatively short lap, and that brings us back to the start and finish line. So there we have it. That was the full lap guide for the BMW M4 GT3 for Montreal as we go into week 7 of the IMSA series in iRacing. This is not one of my favourite tracks. I don't know if many people agree with that opinion of it, but I just don't like the curbs, and I find it's very difficult to be consistent on the curbs, and I think that's the key here. If you can find a way to take a consistent line over the curbs without getting any of the slowdowns and keeping the traction available on the exit. I think that's the secret to doing well around this track. It's something I've always struggled with, really. So usually it takes me a few more laps to get up to speed here than other circuits. But yeah, there we have it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to another Coach Dave lap guide. We do these every week in a variety of cars from other coaches as well. If you need any more information on that or any of the setups we provide, just check out the website or the Discord channel, Discord server, and all the information you'll need will be in there. But for now, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one.